welcome to the Bloody Bunch podcast number 34. Today, with me, Balfour, and with Buddy.
Hi.
It's just the two of us today because reasons. There's a lot of reasons, but we're not going to get into that. So we haven't recorded in 2 weeks because I'm a horrible producer and I don't schedule shit correctly. And when I said we're going to do stuff, we don't, and I'm horrible about that. So I apologize for being like 2 weeks behind, and our schedule's been kind of fucked up, but we are trying to get back on track with that starting this week. So you guys get a podcast this week for all of you beautiful people to enjoy. So I think it's pretty cool for everyone who doesn't watch our Twitch channel. We started reading stories to kind of close out the nights, and right now we're currently reading Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey, and the story's getting pretty good. It only took almost 100 pages, but it's getting good.
You see, my thing is that it's an interesting book, to say the least. But my question is, what got you into it? Like, what made you want to start reading at the end of your streams?
Well, my thing is, I love fantasy novels. I love them to death, and because like we were talking yesterday on Twitch, I have a lot of stuff that I want to do, and I have a lot of stuff that I'm currently doing. But because of that, I don't have time to enjoy a lot of the stuff that I would like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So a good example is like the games that I would like to play. There's a ton of games on my Xbox that I want to play, on my PlayStation that I want to play, and on my PC that I want to play. Which currently right now we can't do on Twitch because we have a schedule of things that we're currently playing. And because of that, like I can see that the community likes us playing those games, which is the reason why we're maintaining those. Because if we throw in random games, I know people would be like, well, okay, like, what's the point of staying? Because we're not going to be sticking to one game. So as of right now, we are, and that's working really well for us. But because of that, I don't have a lot of time to play my other games. Because I'm either writing, or I'm trying to produce another type of thing for you guys. There's just no real time for me to sit down and read a book, along with trying to have relationships. So, because of that, I just said, fuck it, why not bring in something I enjoy to the streams? And because I know not many people read nowadays. Like I shouldn't say that. I will say the popularity of reading has drastically decreased. And because of that, I feel like it'd be really cool to, one, let me read something that I want to read, and two, get you guys interested in stories that you probably have never heard before. Because, if you're not really interested in reading, you're not going to be actively looking for fantasy novels. But for Dragonflight in particular, this is Lauren's favorite book series. I think the actual series is called, like, The Dragons of Pern or something like that. I'm sorry, The Chronicles of Pern. So it's like, there's like 1 billion books. I think there's like, I say 1 billion, but I think there's like 10 or something like that. And I promised her that I would read it, and this is when she visited me the second time, but I just haven't gotten the chance to sit down and read it. So again, with this idea, it's forcing me to read stuff that I've been wanting to read for a very long time. On top of that, I am reading a lot more because I am doing something for a YouTube channel, not necessarily the YouTube channel, that involves me reading from scripts along with reading a book off the bat. So currently I am reading 3 different books because of this. And it's really cool because one of my favorite things about reading physical books, I personally can't read Kindles because I don't feel like I'm progressing in a story. Whereas if you're holding a physical book and you have a fancy bookmark, you can see your progression through the story. And that's something that I really, really enjoy as a reader is you visualize how far into the story you are. And to me, I feel like that builds a lot of tension as you're reading, specifically when you get into later chapters, because once you get to the last few pages, you're like, wait, we're currently right here in the story, but it has to resolve somehow. And when you have that type of tension, I feel like it really, like the story is more captivating. But if you're reading on a Kindle, it's like, alright, next page, next page, next page, next page, next page. Oh, it ended. Okay. To me, it's kind of like it's a lackluster resolution. Whereas if you're holding the book, you're like, fuck! I only have like 2 pages to go, how's it gonna end? And then it ends and you're like, God damn it! And then you can throw the book, but then you can pick it up and love it because it's beautiful. And you're like, God damn. But that's the fun thing about having physical books. At least for me, I'm very big on digital content. Like for me, I was a very big advocate for digital games because it's like why would I want to have the disc? Like why do I want to put a disc into a game, have it load, or I can just load the game digitally and just have it as it is. But it's a different type of medium where, like for a game, you just want to be able to just sit down, relax, and play it rather than having to get up, go to your shelf, look through all the games that you have because you're a loser and you have like 200 games, pick it off from the shelf, open it up, grab the disc, put it in whatever console you have, wait for it to load. Yes, I am impatient. But I just feel like
noticed.
Specifically when it comes to games, it's like it's just digital. It's data anyway. So why waste space on your shelves when you can just have a terabyte hard drive that has all your games ready to go? Or even with movies, like you just have digital movies, have it on a hard drive, and you can just get ready to go. But with a book, again, it's very different when you're reading from a digital tablet. Whereas like, flipping through the pages is something that never gets old, at least for me. And like my mom reads from the Kindle and stuff like that because she loves reading, but that woman reads like crazy. Whereas I like to get very invested in a book, because like I said, my favorite genre for reading is fantasy novels, and when I think of fantasy in general, I like to separate myself from the real world and kind of just dwell into this into this world of dragons, of magic, of sword fighting. It makes me feel better as a person. So, but yeah, no, that's essentially the reason why we started reading books at the end of the night. That way, I can just introduce you guys and essentially just kill 2 birds with 1 stone for stuff that I've been wanting to do.
I mean, if you're enjoying yourself, that's all that matters, I guess.
But it also seems like you guys are also enjoying it, which makes me happy. Because the whole idea for me doing Twitch is that way I can entertain you guys, and this is something that I was like, I don't know if they're going to like this, but I'm going to try it anyway. And you guys seem to be enjoying it, so we're going to be continuing with the storytelling until we get sick of it.
Or until the book ends.
Well, I mean, this book isn't really that long compared to the other stories that I'm going to be reading to you guys. This book is only 344 pages, but it's very small. Like the size of the book is small compared to the other stories that I'm going to be reading to you guys, which have like 700 pages and they're about twice as big as this book in terms of size. So there's more script. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of stories.
Good lord, man! You trying to kill us or something? Just fucking.
With storytelling? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's just like it's like when you were talking about throwing the book and then pick it back up. It's like you throw the book. That's like what you said it was 300 and something pages.
Yeah.
And you toss it and you're just like, ha! I didn't even feel that. And you throw the 700 book and you're on the ground like, ugh.
Which is funny because so this book is a paperback book, which I am such a book snob because I personally don't like paperback books. Which Lauren, thank you so much for lending me this book, by the way. It's... I just don't feel... Like, I feel like it needs something. Like, it needs to be protected by both sides. Like, I personally like hardcovers. Hardcovers are great because it's like, bam! Like, it's a nice, solid piece of book. But my favorite books are leather-bound books. Not even just for the aesthetic reasons, like if they just look old. But the feel of leather as you're reading just makes you feel powerful. And currently, I currently have 5 leather-bound books.
Wow.
3 of them are by my favorite author, Alexander Dumas. If you guys don't know who that is, he is the creator, or he's the writer for The Three Musketeers, The Man in the Iron Mask, like the entire D'Artagnan chronicles, The Count of Monte Cristo, which is my all-time favorite story. He was definitely ahead of his time in terms of literature. So if you guys like the movies, please, for the love of God, try to find the unabridged versions because they are so much better than the movies. Even visually. I mean, like, you have to imagine it, but the visuals, how Alexander Dumas describes what is going on in a scene is phenomenal. And I cannot express how much I love it. But the other 2 books are the original Star Wars trilogy. I have that as a leatherbound, which is awesome, because Star Wars is for life. And for Christmas, my parents got me the collection of... Oh, shit, I can't remember the author. It's the author of Treasure Island, because Treasure Island is also one of my other favorite stories. I can't remember the author's name, but it's a compilation of about 4 or 5 of their books. And I think the second story is of Treasure Island, which is a great, great book. If you guys haven't heard about that, but you guys have seen Treasure Planet.
Robert Louis Stevenson.
There you go. Robert Louis Stevenson. It's a collection of those stories. If you guys haven't seen or heard of Treasure Island, but have seen Treasure Planet, essentially the exact same thing. Like literally, just the names are the same. And it is Treasure Island, just in space. But if you guys are interested in that, I highly recommend reading that as well. And speaking of Treasure Island, if you guys are able to find somewhere on the internet, because people are smart, videos of black sails, and you're over 18, I highly recommend watching that show because it is the most pirate show you've ever pirated. Don't pirate stuff. It is a fantastic show. It is gory. It is sexy. It is seriously what I wish Pirates of the Caribbean was, and I understand you can't because it's Disney and stuff. But it is seriously just straight up pirate, and it is great. Women having sex with women, men having sex with men, threesomes about. It is awesome. I'm really sad that it ended, and I know Lauren didn't like the series finale, but I thought half of it was good, and the other half was kind of like, really? But the show overall was fantastic, and I'm really sad that it ended after 4 seasons. But I think it is one of the better shows that have been on the air in a very long time. In my opinion, I found it way more entertaining than Game of Thrones. Like, the characters are more relatable. The story made way more sense of where people wanted to go and how they wanted to collectively get people to a certain point. And typically, I don't like prequels. And you guys know this because I say this all the time, that I feel like stories of prequels don't really matter. But this is a story that takes place further in the past before the story of Treasure Island, where the story itself doesn't have an impact on the events that happen in Treasure Island. And I feel like that is a good way to approach a prequel to a story that you haven't already established in a certain format. So one of the biggest issues I have with prequels is when you release. So, for instance, video games. I'll go to Kingdom Hearts for this because Kingdom Hearts is a good example for things that I can't stand. Like, I love Kingdom Hearts, but like the way that they did prequels pissed me off. You had the initial game, which was a great concept, and you know, you kind of had to pull a story together from different pieces and try to make this essentially just this symphony of a story, which was great. And then, you know, you came out with Chain of Memories, which was the bridge between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, which was awesome. And then they started backtracking with a couple of characters because people liked characters so much that they're like, hey, let's just build a random story for them and make the story even more convoluted than it already is. So, a game that I have a huge issue with is Kingdom Hearts 358 Over 2. For those who haven't played it, it's a story about Roxas, who is Sora's nobody from the second one, and they gave him a story that happens between Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories and Kingdom Hearts 2. This is a character that didn't need a goddamn story to relate to, because it expanded on its own story, in which none of the events in the story mattered. The only thing in that story that mattered was a friendly connection between two characters, which you already know, and it's already established in the second game. And I don't like that. I don't like when a character becomes so popular that you feel the need to backtrack and create a giant story that doesn't relate directly to the story that you already established. Because to me, that just means that you are creating a story just to create a story, but not to have any continuity with a character. And to me, continuity is very, very, very important, especially when you're trying to develop characters. Like, for instance, like Master Chief. Like, when you first play Halo, all you know is that you're just this soldier. And throughout the series, you learn more and more as you're reading through the notes, as you're picking up data, as you're reading through the terminals. You're reading what has happened to John, and you're reading and learning all about how he's progressed as a person. And once you get to Halo 4 and 5, you realize how much John has changed as a character. And that is continuity storytelling, where you are continually to evolve a character rather than going back and, you know, telling a different story to tell the viewer where he's gone and how far he's come. Whereas you can just continue the story going forward with having different hints, with having different like journals or collectibles to go through and read to understand the character a little bit more. Now, continuing with Kingdom Hearts, they then came out with Birth by Sleep, which is like 10 years before the first game. Like, it's way, way before the first game. And that game really, really disappointed me because they expanded on the universe of Kingdom Hearts, and they try to explain like the Keyblade wielders and how there's multiple Keyblade wielders, and they wanted to expand on a bigger, like a global. I don't know how to put it together, but it's like they tried to create a world that's bigger than honestly it should have been. They gave backstories to characters that die in the second game, so it's like, why are you going to try to give more story to a character that in the end doesn't matter or affect the events that are going to occur in the future to begin with? To me, it was something that was done very poorly. As a storyteller, I don't feel like that is an interesting way to grab people. I just feel like to me, it's a cop-out to saying, like, okay, I don't know exactly where we're going to go forward, so instead, let's put this on hold and start a brand new story. That way we can hold viewers over. Like, currently, I am writing a story, as you guys know, and I have already written the past events that lead to the future events. I'm not going to say too much more about that, but I feel like this is a better way to go about trying to discover what has happened in the past to understand what is going on forward. Because if I were to just tell you the story, like if I were to just go on with the story and then eventually go back and tell you all this really, really long story about these characters, then where are we going to go from there? Because I feel like you as a viewer who is playing a character should learn about the world as the character learns about the world. Because the character themselves, you should be able to identify in some sort of fashion. Whether you are controlling the character, whether you are in the character's shoes, whether you're creating an NPC, whatever, you as a viewer or reader or whatever should be able to discover the world as the character is discovering the world. Because I feel like that makes it more immersive. Whereas, if you're just the third viewer looking out from the outside, you're kind of getting a lot of information all at once, and then things get convoluted. You don't know. You're not necessarily sure of the timeline of how events happen. To me, I don't know. For me personally, again, if you guys like this stuff, great for you. But to me personally, I feel like it is broken storytelling, and I don't like that. But that being said, I really love Kingdom Hearts, even with the shitty games. I'm pretty sure I played Birth by Sleep maybe 3 times. Because there's just, like, you play as different characters, and it's a Kingdom Hearts game. The only thing that I didn't like about that was that it was on PSP, which I didn't care too much for the console, but it was it was a Kingdom Hearts game, and I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan, so obviously I have to play it.
You don't have to play it, but you have that obligation, I guess.
Are you telling me if Retro is it Retro 2021? Metro. If Metro 2021...
2033.
That one. If they came out with a sequel, you're telling me that you wouldn't play it?
I played the sequel before I played the first one.
There you go.
For the only reason was that... here's my defense to that. Was when it first came out, it was only for the 360, and I didn't have a 360 at the time. And they made Last Light, which was their sequel, for the PS3 and 360 and so on and so forth. So, okay, at least I can play this one. I know at least a little bit of the story of the first one because I watch people play it. That's how I know about new games. Honestly, it's like if I watch a streamer or somebody on YouTube play it, I'm like, oh, this looks pretty good, and I stop it so it doesn't ruin it, and then I try to find it for myself.
See, that is one of the things that I really do appreciate about live streaming now is, so before, you'd have to know someone who knows about a game or knows about a movie or knows about a book to find out about something that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But with streaming now, like, it's very easy to discover new stuff, and that's something that I'm really excited about because I love learning about new things. I love exposing others to new things. That's one of the things that makes me really happy is when, like, this is the reason why we started the movie club, is that way you guys can see some movies that, you might not have seen before. But speaking of movie club, so last time we talked, we said that the movie was going to be The Terminal.
Yeah.
Movie that I absolutely love. If you guys watched it, great on you. If you haven't, definitely go watch it because it is a fantastic movie with Tom Hanks, and it's sad, it's romantic, and it's just a very, very good story.
It is. It's a very interesting story. The one thing that I always laugh at in that movie specifically was when he finally gets a date with her, and they're on the balcony or whatever, and they got everything set up, right?
Mm.
And this is what I thought was funny. I realized that the person who drove the food trucks and was basically giving them food for information for that one chick, I was like, why does he look familiar? And then I remember, oh yeah, he's in Rogue One.
Yeah, he's Poe.
Yeah, he's that. No.
Isn't he?
He's not Poe. No, that's Diego Luna. He was
Oh, you're right.
Rogue One.
He's
He's
the pilot, right?
yeah, I forget his name.
I can't remember his name. I can't remember the pilot's name.
Anyways. And I saw that and I'm looking at it. He was so freaking awkward during that time when he just like,
That's his character.
I know that was perfect though, because you come a long way. That was my first initial thoughts. You come a long way.
It is great. There's a lot of really good parts in that movie, and it's interesting because you also get to see how businessmen work. I know that sounds weird because like it's all about security and stuff, but there's a moment in the film, obvious spoilers if you haven't watched it. There's a moment in the film where Tom Hanks has to try to make some money because he has no money because his stuff was stolen. And he has to get trolleys, and when you return trolleys, they would return money to you. So instead, because the security saw this and the main antagonist is an asshole, he created a job for people that way he can, like, he wouldn't be able to afford anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really interesting scene. At least I thought it was very interesting. But that being said, that was the movie of the week. It's a great movie. I rate it 8 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie, but it's great. So this week's movie, because the sequel to this movie is going to be coming out soon. This week's movie is Blade Runner.
Oh.
With Harrison Ford and who else is in this movie? I can't remember.
Keep talking. I'll think of it. I'll tell you in a minute.
At least for me, like the only big name that I can remember is Harrison.
It's Harrison Ford.
But for those who don't know, I'll read a little synopsis. In the futuristic year of 2019, Los Angeles has become a dark and depressing metropolis filled with urban decay. Rick Deckard, an ex-cop, is a Blade Runner. Blade Runners are people assigned to assassinate replicants. The replicants are androids that look like real human beings. When 4 replicants commit a bloody mutiny of the off-world colony, Deckard is called out to retirement to track down the androids. As he tracks the replicants, eliminating them one by one, he soon comes across another replicant, Rachel, who invokes human emotion, despite the fact that she's a replicant herself. As Deckard closes in on one of the leader replicant group, his true hatred toward artificial intelligence makes us question his own identity in this future world, including what's human and what's not human. Dude, this movie's fucking awesome. If you guys have not seen it, I am making you guys watch this just in case you go watch the sequel, because the new Blade Runner is obviously a sequel, because Harrison Ford is in it, reprising his role as Deckard. And, what's his name? The pretty boy. He's the main guy in Blade Runner, the sequel.
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling is in it. So ladies, please, before you freak out about the handsome Ryan Gosling, please go freak out about the handsome Harrison Ford in the original movie of Blade Runner this week.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we'll talk about the movie in depth next week as well. So.
Oh, James Hong's in this movie. I forgot about that.
Really? That's who?
Yeah. He is Hannibal Chew.
Oh.
Yeah, Kevin Thompson, Morgan Paul, Edward James Olmos, Sean Young, Rutger Hauer, and then Harrison Ford.
Goddamn. It's an interesting cast.
It is.
But, guys, that is going to be it for this week. We know that it's a shorter podcast this week, but, you know, sometimes it has to be a little shorter than usual. But thank you guys for listening to us. We will be back next week for another podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us on SoundCloud, on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to check out our YouTube and our Twitch channels. And we will see you guys next week for another podcast. So, see ya.
Bye-bye.